So since Ant-Man and the Wasp came out a couple weeks ago, I have still been thinking about it since it came out. And I really did want to talk about the spoilers in this movie because Ant-Man and the Wasp, like you could say like most of the movie is not very like there's not much to spoil. But there's some things I do want to talk about because they affect the universe. And I really wanted to say like my feelings on a couple of the spoilers that I thought actually were really good in this movie like for a Marvel movie. I thought they were really good. And starting out, I really enjoyed, like I said in my other review, I enjoyed Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet. I thought that she was a great addition to this. I really thought that she was really, like, she's not in the movie much, which is one of the negatives I thought I had with this movie. And it's not like a huge negative, but it's like, oh, I wanted to see her more because I love her so much. But she's really good, and I like the fact that this movie really hinges on the fact that it's about Hope and Hank trying to find her and realizing that she might be alive. And I love how that brought such an emotional core to this story. And it actually, and in the first movie, it's good too. But I thought that this one, I think I like more than the first one just because of that, because of the emotional connection between Hope and Hank and Janet and how they're trying to find her, and how it was great in the first one where like she's just gone and like they think she's dead, and then it works well for Hope as a character in the first one and her and Hank rekindling their relationship. But like in this one, I love the fact that they work together to go and get her, and I think that it really brought such, I felt like a lot of emotion to this movie, and I was surprised in Ant-Man that they did that, because the first one had some emotion to it, but this one I thought gave so much more with bringing in the mother and having that connection. I love how it opens, where you've got young Hope and young Hank and Janet before like they go to before she goes into subatomic level on the plane. But I like the fact that it's younger of them. Like they're both like de-aged and they look really incredible. Like they look like they're from like Michael Douglas looks like he's from like Basic Instinct, or Michelle Pfeiffer she looks like she's from like Tequila Sunrise. Like they both look so cool in how they de-age these actors, and it looks legit. And they keep getting better with that. But I love the opening scene where Hope is hiding from her parents just as a fun way that they played with each other. And I love the fact that it brings such, even though Michelle Pfeiffer isn't in the movie enough, I love the fact that that one scene at the beginning gives you all you need to know, where you see Janet talking to Hope, and like I love the fact that they see her right before they leave, before Janet's gone for good. And it really brought such an authenticity to Michelle Pfeiffer's, the way like that scene to me makes me feel like she's such a great actress anyways, but I felt like she felt so genuine in that scene whenever she's talking to younger Hope. And I love the fact that you only needed that scene to feel something. And like I said, even though it stinks she wasn't in it more, that gave me enough to feel for this relationship with these characters, and especially Hope with her losing her mother and realizing later in this movie that they can find her. They know that she's alive somewhere, or alive in the quantum realm. That's really cool. So I really loved, and whenever Hank finds Janet, that is such a moment that I actually felt a lot of emotion towards. I'm like, wow, this is great. Just these characters, even though I don't know much about her, like seeing her and them rekindle their, like meeting each other again, that just worked. It got me really deep. I was surprised. I was like, wow, okay. That's good whenever a movie can do that without showing much. I really enjoyed that. And then I want to talk about the villain Ghost, who is this is interesting because this is a Marvel villain that, I guess Loki is the other one that counts, but there are usually Marvel villains that go bad and don't go back to good, I guess. Besides Loki and say like Vulture, where like he wasn't really a complete bad guy. He didn't kill anybody. except shocker. But spoilers for Spider-Man: Homecoming. Oops. But if you saw this, you probably have seen Spider-Man: Homecoming. But usually these villains in these movies are usually just bad, and they don't change for the most part. And I thought that this villain, Ghost, I like that she... At first glance, watching this movie, I didn't think much of this villain, but after I watched it, I thought about it more. That Ghost, this woman who loses everything, is basically dying every second of her life, like, because she's in between realms where, like, she is basically fading in and out. And she's got to go into a machine to, like, heal herself back up. It makes it, like, with her, it makes it feel so... Like, you feel so much sympathy for her, and I thought that, like I said, on first glance, I didn't think much about it, but I thought about it more and thought, man, this character is really interesting, and she gave off... The actress is really incredible, too. I don't know what her name was, but she was damn good. Like, she really brought something to this performance. Like, I felt so much for her because that actress was so good and so genuine that it really got me. And I like the fact that she goes good in the end, because she isn't technically like she's not connected to the hero with Hank, or no, with Scott Lang. Funny, I haven't even mentioned Ant-Man yet, but I mean, Ant-Man is the everyman of the movie, but I like the fact that she's not connected to Scott Lang. She's just there trying to fill a purpose to get the MacGuffin of the movie, which is the lab, which I thought was... Whenever, like, I liked how whenever you realize her backstory, it actually is really tragic, and this character does have so much to her that you do feel for her and feel her reasonings behind this. Like, she is literally dying every second of her life, trying to find a cure, trying to find a way to come back. And she doesn't know what to do, and she lost her family, she lost everything. Became a pawn, and she, like, literally doesn't have anything, and I love that the way they wrote her was interesting, and she actually really did. It did surprise me the more I thought about it, because, like I said, at first, like, at the beginning, I didn't think, oh, wasn't that interesting, but then after I thought about it over, she really was interesting, and she did give off this huge sympathy for her, and I really enjoyed her a lot. So I thought she was a good villain, because she doesn't stay a villain, of course, but at the end. But this is the reason I wanted to make this video, is because of the after credits. Of course, going into this movie, it's so funny because before you see Avengers: Infinity War, and spoilers for Avengers, obviously, but Avengers: Infinity War, before you go in that, you know Ant-Man was coming afterwards. Avengers: Infinity War, Thanos uses the snap. 50% of the world, like, people are gone, killed. Half of the Avengers at least are killed, including the big ones, some of the big ones. But I love the fact that Infinity War ended that way, and I like the fact that they marketed it to where Ant-Man just starts, like, Ant-Man's the next movie, and you don't know. I mean, it would have been more obvious, I guess, if half the world was gone, because then everybody would be in a panic, but I love how the movie was marketed so light, and it is very light until the after credits. But I like the fact that they marketed it to where they did Infinity War, everybody's fucked, and then Ant-Man, all funny movie, and I love that too. I love how they marketed it that way, because you know what's going to happen at the end of... Like, at the end of Avengers, you knew what happened, so Ant-Man, it's gonna happen in it too, and I love the fact that they didn't even, like, point it out, and then you realize at the end that this movie happens currently with Infinity War, right? Literally right at the same time, because in the after credits, you have Hank, Hope, and Janet, and Scott going into the quantum realm, because they've created that thing where they can go into the quantum realm now and stay in there. But they did to where they've got no lab anymore, so they use a van and they send Scott in there and they'll take him out. Right whenever Scott goes in there, I just sat there like, no. no. And then he goes in there because they're gonna heal. They're gonna keep healing Ghost with this energy they get from the quantum realm. He goes in there, in the quantum realm. He just says, "Guys, okay, guys, let me back. Guys, you there? Guys." And then it cuts back, and they've disintegrated, all three of them. I thought that the Wasp would have stayed, but oh man, I love that. I mean, of course, I know that these characters, maybe not all of them, but a lot of these characters are going to come back. Of course, Spider-Man's coming back. Of course, Black Panther's coming back. But of course, the Guardians are coming back. But I love the fact that they disintegrated Hope, Hank, and Janet. But then Ant-Man is literally fucked, just in there, just in the quantum realm. He's stuck in there, and then he just screams through the what he was talking through, like from the other side, like he's just screaming, "Guys, guys!" And then it just cuts away. But I love the fact too that even though we get that dire after post-credit scene, then the last scene at the very end, because there's always usually two post-credit scenes for them, usually in every Marvel movie now. But so after that scene where they're gone and Scott's stuck in the quantum realm, then it has the other after credit scene where you see the TVs, and like the TV has got like a blank signal, like, yeah, the world is, like, half the world's gone because the signal's gone, like everybody's freaking out. And then it just pans around the room, and then it just shows that ant playing the drums, which I loved, because I love the fact that this movie, even though it had that dire moment, but then it showed like the dire moment in the first post credits, and then in the next one it showed the ant playing the drums. So I like the fact that half the world is gone, but that ant is still having fun just playing the drums. I thought that was hilarious. And that fits with making the tone, even though it just became really dire, it still kept the humorous tone even though half the world's gone now. I thought that was a cool after credits scene, and I thought it was interesting because they usually never do this, but that scene of the ant playing the drums is in the trailer, and that usually never happens for post-credit scenes for Marvel. So I thought that was really interesting, but I really just wanted to make it an excuse to talk about that after credit scene, even though it's so obvious that this was going to happen, that one of them or all of them are going to disintegrate, but I didn't expect all three of them to, and then Scott's just fucked and stuck in the quantum realm. So I'm curious to if the next movie somebody will take him out. I wonder who gets him out of the quantum realm. And my friend pointed this out too, and I didn't see this whenever I watched the movie, but on the end credits it'll say Ant-Man and the Wasp will return. I didn't notice this, but apparently it says a question mark after that. Maybe it isn't there for a second, then it pops up. So Ant-Man and the Wasp will return? Question mark. Which I thought was really funny that like they did that, because it's just like how at the end of Infinity War it said like Thanos will return. Like that's awesome. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to talk about that. Basically that after credits scene, and talk about how I love Michelle Pfeiffer and how I love the villain in this movie. I think that those three things really were I felt like a valid reason to talk about it, and I just really wanted to talk about it to somebody, because I really love these movies, and I think that whenever you get a big moment like that, or you get big character moments or characters you love, I love to talk about them. I love to actually give my 2 cents on them. So overall, just I've only seen Ant-Man once. Of course I'll rewatch it again. I don't know about it in theaters, but I want to get it. I'll of course have it on Blu-ray, but I really wanted to talk about spoilers, even though it's a couple weeks late. But yeah, just really enjoyed the movie. Man, those after credits were awesome.